What's up, everyone? Happy Football Friday. Got a lot of news going on. We got Big 12 expansion, some big injuries that ended up not being so major. And then we got some money being thrown around, extensions galore. We have some USFL, XFL to NFL guys going on. And we'll talk about the Mountain West and how I see that conference playing out at the end for the majority of the show, halfway through until the end. So we're on. This is the last week of no football. We have the Hall of Fame game next Thursday, and super hyped for that. I'll be at a sports bar watching that with some friends. But anyways, let's talk about the football that is going on. College football news, the Big 12 is they are expanding and adding Colorado from the Pac-12 just next year, 2024. The Buffaloes will head to the Big 12. And the Big 12 isn't done. They are now eyeing Arizona. The Wildcats leadership has apparently been in talks with the Big 12 conference for months now, and Arizona could be the next domino to fall. I was talking with my roommate about the expansion, Pac-12, Big 12, and I think this sets up the Big 12, if they're going to continue to expand, to look at a team like SMU that's already in Texas, and also possibly even Boise State. Now, Boise State could go to the Pac-12 as well, but I think if Boise wants to be taken seriously and be a championship contender, I think you're going to see them go to the Big 12 if they do lead the Mountain West. Pac-12, though, I could see them eyeing up San Diego State, San Jose State, Hawaii as well. Possibly even, like I said, Boise State, and also Wyoming as well. All of those schools I could see the Pac-12 looking into that are already on the West Coast and or California. So that is what where I think the Pac-12, Big 12 are going or could go. But currently, Colorado is set to join the Big 12 next season, as USC and UCLA go to the Big 10. Oklahoma, Texas go to the SEC. Colorado to the Big 12 now. Arizona possibly also going to the Big 12. We'll see and monitor that situation. NFL news. A couple general things. The Panthers head coach Frank Reich, he has named number 1 overall pick, rookie quarterback Bryce Young, as the starting quarterback, saying that he is QB1, and very hyped about that. Excited for Bryce Young to lead Carolina into week 1. The Chiefs, they placed wide receiver John Ross on the reserve retired list, so looks like Ross's career is going to be over. Never really materialized after being selected in the first round by the Bengals, I believe number 7 overall out of Washington with a burning 4.2 40. So, yeah. Guys being named onto the PUP list, physically unable to perform. Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray coming back from an ACL, as is tight end Zach Ertz, and rookie linebacker BJ Ojulari also placed on the list. Same division here, the Seahawks, they play safety Jamal Adams, linebacker Jordan Brooks, tight end Noah Fant, nose tackle Austin Falu, and corner Tariq Woolen, all on the PUP list as well. Injuries. So it's that time of year, training camp first week, getting wrapped up soon. And the injuries have come. The Cowboys safety Donovan Wilson, he has a strained calf. All these guys got carted off, by the way, and were afraid of serious injury, but ended up being okay for 3 of the 4 that I'll talk about. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow, he also has a strained calf. That was a major social media buzz yesterday. Joe Burrow going down in practice. Luckily, though, for the Bengals and for Burrow, it is just a strained calf. Head coach Zach Taylor saying today that it'll be several weeks for Joe Burrow. So we're 6 weeks out from week 1 starting. Hopefully, Joey B can be back by then. The Dolphins also dealing with a major injury. Corner Jalen Ramsey, he underwent successful full meniscus repair surgery today. He's going to look to return in late December for the end of the season and a playoff push. The full repair, as opposed to just the trim, is a lot healthier long-term option for the player. And because he got fully guaranteed salaries in 23 and 24 as a part of the trade to Miami, he is secure now with making this decision. And the worst injury here, the Saints guard Trey Turner just signed. We talked about that last show on Tuesday. Just signed to New Orleans. He has torn his quadriceps. He is out for the season. Let's talk about money. And we're going to get a lot of chings on this one. I'm just telling you right now. I think the first one deserves 2 chings because it's a lot of money. The Chargers, they signed quarterback Justin Herbert to a 5-year, $262.5 million extension with $133.7 million fully guaranteed. That with injury guarantees is a total of $193.7 million guaranteed. Yes, 2 cha-chings, definitely deserves that. Also includes a no trade clause, and we'll give him an applause for that one. Even though that's pretty almost standard, I would say, in terms of top quarterback contracts, getting their big money extension. So yes, Herbert deservedly so, up there now at the top. Needs to get the on-field production, though. Need to win a playoff game, which he has not done, even though they were leading the Jags 27-0 on the road and was not able to win that game. So I think that's the next step. Got a great offense around him, new offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. Super hyped for Justin Herbert this year. Giants, they signed left tackle Andrew Thomas to a 5-year, $117.5 million extension, $67 million fully guaranteed. Mr. Thomas, one of the best left tackles in the league, getting paid like one now. Proud of my former Georgia Bulldog there, even though he is playing on the Giants, who I do not like. Another tackle getting paid. Texans signing right tackle Titus Howard to a 3-year, $56 million extension, $36.5 million guaranteed. I told you, a lot of cha-chings today. They just keep coming. Titus Howard has solidified himself as one of the better tackles in the league as well, being a former first round pick, just like Andrew Thomas, even though not as high as Thomas. Thomas went 4th overall, I think. Yeah, Howard deserving of that contract as well, as all these guys are, that we'll talk about. Next one here, the Bears. They signed tight end Cole Kmet to a 4-year, $50 million extension, $32.8 million fully guaranteed. Kmet emerging as one of the top tight ends in the league. He would probably be better served with a different quarterback, but that's just my Justin Fields hate of the day. So yeah, Cole Kmet though, definitely, I love the kid. He's been pretty solid. Wish him all the best. And the Bengals, they signed defensive end Trey Hendrickson to a 1-year extension through 2025. Gets $21 million in new money. with a $5 million raise this year, I believe, and in 2025 as well. 2024 stays the same for him. The Eagles, they signed Colts offensive tackle Dennis Kelly. So Kelly back in Philadelphia where he started his career. Hyped to have him back to compete for the offensive line backup positions. Some workouts, visits. The 49ers, they worked out Giants linebacker Tay Crowder, also a Steeler. Didn't really do much for Pittsburgh, though, so classify him as a Giants linebacker. Tay Crowder working out for San Francisco. They did a bunch of linebacker work the other day, and Crowder getting one of those. The Jets, this is a big one. They hosted Vikings running back Dalvin Cook for a visit. So waiting to see where Cook will land as we get into the second week of training camp. And Jets are the top of the list, he said. So we'll see if he signs in New York. The Dolphins have also been rumored, as well as the Broncos. So we'll see where Cook ends up. XFL to NFL, a couple guys signing. The Giants, they signed Battlehawks defensive tackle Kevin Atkins to help fill their depth on the defensive line. And the Broncos, they signed Roughnecks wide receiver Michael Bandy. Familiar with the division, he was on the Chargers last season as well. USFL to NFL, a bunch of guys signing and getting workouts here. The Seahawks, they signed Panthers defensive end Levi Bell. The Cowboys, they signed Panthers defensive back Josh Butler. 49ers mentioned they did a lot of linebacker work. Well, they signed one, signing Maulers linebacker Kiava Tizino, defensive player of the year, I believe. Lions, they signed Panthers wide receiver Trey Quinn. And then the workouts for the USFL guys, Saints worked out Breakers defensive end Henri St. Amour. Chargers working out Maulers wide receiver Bailey Gaither. Panthers, they worked out Michigan Panthers quarterback Josh Love. The 49ers worked out Panthers linebacker Frank Ginda. And the Falcons, they worked out Gamblers wide receiver Justin Hall. So that is all the NFL news I have. I don't see anything new on the Twitter feed. So let's move on to the Mountain West season preview here. Super excited about this conference, as I always am. There's just something about the Mountain West that's always interesting every year. I usually try to find some guys that are in the group of five that I fall in love with during the draft process. So let's see if that will happen this year. But they are moving to a divisionless format, so no Mountain, no West Division. It's just the Mountain West Conference. Best two teams make the conference championship. And we'll start off with the defending champions, Fresno State Bulldogs. I have them finishing sixth this year. A lot of losses, especially on the offensive side of the ball. No key returners in terms of all conference players. They lost quarterback Jake Hayner to the NFL, first team All Mountain West. Running back Jordan Mims to the NFL, first team. Wide receiver Jalen Moreno Cropper to the NFL, first team. Wide receiver Nico Remigio to the NFL, second team. Offensive lineman Bula Schmidt transferred, second team. Defensive lineman David Perales to the NFL, first team. And safety Evan Williams transferred as a second teamer. They did get some reinforcements, though, on the offense. Quarterback Mikey Keene comes in from UCF. Wide receiver Jalen Gill from Boston College. And offensive lineman Kingsley Ugwu comes in from Kansas State. So the addition of Mikey Keene, I think, should help this offense. I just have to see it to believe it. And that's why I have the Bulldogs going 6-6, 4-4 in conference play. I believe I only have the top six, the first half of the conference there, top six going to a bowl game as getting 6 wins. But yeah, Fresno State, their schedule looks like this. At Purdue, I have that as a loss. They win at home versus Eastern Washington. They lose at Arizona State. They win at home versus Kent State. Win at home against Nevada. Win at Wyoming. They lose at Utah State on a Friday. I just think at Utah State, it's a tough environment, especially on an off day there on Friday night. Week 8 bye. They win at home versus UNLV. They lose at home against Boise State, lose at San Jose State. They win at home against New Mexico, and they lose at San Diego State to end up 6-6, sixth place for Fresno State. Going to the Mountain West runners-up last year, the Boise State Broncos. Key returners, quarterback Talon Green returns. He was the freshman of the year last season, so great to have him back in the fold for Boise. Running back George Halani, also excellent player to have back, second team all-conference. Offensive lineman Cade Beresford, second team, and linebacker DJ Schramm, second team as well. Losses, though, quarterback Hank Bachmeyer transferred. Tight end Tyneil Hopper transferred also. Offensive lineman John Ojukwu to the NFL, first team. Defensive lineman Scott Matlock to the NFL, second team. Defensive lineman Jackson Cravens transferred. Linebacker Ezekiel Noah to the IFL, Indoor Football League there, second team. Safety JL Skinner to the NFL's first team. No key transfers for Boise that I saw on 24/7 Sports. So they'll go in with their returners and whatever they had from last season. Boise, though, I have 8-4, 6-2 in conference play. Third place finish for me, just short of the Mountain West Championship game appearance for the second year in a row there. Their schedule, they lose at Washington week 1. They lose at home against UCF. They win at home versus North Dakota. They lose at San Diego State on a Friday. That's the key game there. 2 of their 4 losses are to the top 2 teams. So they win at Memphis week 5. I'm not so sure they get that one done. I could possibly see them ending up with a loss there and maybe going 7-5. Danny Potter saying a goat recently attended one of these schools. Sure, I don't know which one he's talking about, but I'll take his word for it. Anyways, the week 6 they lose. The Broncos lose at home versus San Diego State or San Jose State. They win at Colorado State week 7. Week 8 bye. They win at home versus Wyoming. They win at Fresno State week 10. They win at home versus New Mexico, win at Utah State, and win at home versus Air Force on a Friday. So that is how Boise State gets to 8-4 in my book. Yeah, okay, there you go. Green and gold. Jordan Love, of course it is. For Utah State alumni. Heading on to the Falcons, Air Force. They just have one key returner, one all-conference player returning. It is free safety Trey Taylor, second team all-conference last season for the Falcons here. Losses, though, are big, especially the first 2. Quarterback Hazik Daniels went to the NFL. His situation was really weird. He was not granted approval for one of the grad positions, so he was not approved to be a grad transfer. He wanted to go play somewhere else, but was not approved by the Air Force Academy, so moves on to the NFL. Got a tryout as a running back. Yeah. The next guy here, running back Brad Roberts to the NFL, Offensive Player of the Year, first team all-conference. He's the biggest one. He was a monster last year for the Falcons of Air Force. And I just want to put that into perspective. He ran for 1,400 yards last year, 1,425 yards, 14 touchdowns. Just an absolute beast of a back. And in the triple option that Air Force runs, he was excellent. I absolutely loved Brad Roberts at Air Force. He's got a crazy long bio there on their team site, but yeah, he's the biggest loss. I like Zeke Daniels as well, but Brad Roberts was definitely the biggest loss there um, for Air Force. They also lost offensive lineman Isaac Cochran to the NFL first team. Offensive lineman Everett Smalley. His situation also was kind of weird. He left the team, but he didn't transfer, so he is no longer with the team though. So he was a second team all conference player there. And they also lost linebacker Vince Sanford to the NFL, second team player. No key transfers. Again, like I talked about with Army and Navy prior shows, it's difficult to transfer into the service academies. And so, yeah, no key transfers for Air Force. I have Air Force going 7-5, 4-4 conference record. They have a pretty simple non-conference record or non-conference schedule. They win at home against Robert Morris. They win at Sam Houston State. Win at home against Utah State on a Friday. They lose at San Jose State on a Friday. They lose at home against San Diego State. Week 6 bye. They win at home against Wyoming. They win at Navy. I was close to giving them a loss on that one, going all the way to Annapolis from Colorado. Long trip, but I think Air Force is the best of the three service academies currently. They win at Colorado State. They lose at home against Army. They win at Hawaii. They lose at home against UNLV, and they lose at Boise State on a Friday night to get to 7-5. Bowl eligibility for Air Force here. The Aztecs are next. San Diego State. Key returners for them: tight end Mark Redmond, second team all conference. Offensive lineman Cade Bennett, second team, and kicker/punter Jack Browning, special teams player of the year and a first team all conference punter for SDSU. The losses were plentiful for the Aztecs. Wide receiver Jordan Byrd to the NFL, first team as a kick returner and as a punt returner. Wide receiver Tyrell Shavers to the NFL, second team. Offensive lineman Alama Uluave to the NFL, first team. Offensive lineman Laakia Kapoy transferred. Defensive lineman Jonah Tavai to the NFL, first team. Linebacker Caden McDonald to the NFL, first team. Linebacker Michael Shawcroft to the NFL, second team. Corner Patrick McMorris transferred. He was a first teamer. And safety CJ Baskerville also transferred. Just one key transfer for San Diego State. They kind of replaced Baskerville with their own safety, JD Coffey, coming in from Texas. So lot out, not a lot in for San Diego State, but I do think they're going to be all right. SDSU usually puts out a pretty solid program every year. That is why I have them in the Mountain West Championship game this year and finishing just short in second place. 9-3 record for me, 7-1 in conference. They win at home against Ohio. They win at home against Idaho State. Lose at home against UCLA. They lose at Oregon State. They win at home against Boise State on a Friday. They win at Air Force. Week 7 bye. They win at Hawaii. They win at home against Nevada. They win at home against Utah State. They win at Colorado State, lose at San Jose State, and then they win at home against Fresno State. So San Jose State's going to end up sweeping them. If that one was at home for the Aztecs, maybe they win that game, but it is not. So I have them as that one as a loss. And the next team here, let's go to my championship team. I have the San Jose State Spartans winning the 2023 Mountain West Championship game. Quarterback Chevin Cordero, second team all conference last year. He is their lone all conference player returning, but he's the best quarterback in the conference, and that's exactly why I have the Spartans winning this year's Mountain West title. Key losses for San Jose State: wide receiver Elijah Cooks to the NFL, first team. Wide receiver Jermaine Braddock transferred. Defensive lineman Viliami Fehoko to the NFL, defensive player of the year and a first teamer. Defensive lineman Cade Hall retired. He was a first teamer. Linebacker Kyle Harmon to the NFL, first team as well. They got two key transfers, one offense, one defense. Offensive lineman La'akia Kapoy comes in from San Diego State, and corner DJ Harvey from Virginia Tech. So a couple depth additions there for the Spartans. I have SJSU with a very solid record, 10-2, 8-0 in conference play. They lose at USC, lose at home against Oregon State, and they win the rest of them. They win at home against Cal Poly, at Toledo, at home against Air Force on a Friday, week 6 bye. They win at Boise State, at New Mexico, at home against Utah State, at Hawaii, at home against Fresno State, at home against San Diego State, and at UNLV. I'll just say, though, the at Boise State one is one that I could see them losing, especially if it's a night game on the blue turf. That is a difficult environment. But with their win against San Diego State, it wouldn't matter. Even if they did lose one conference game, they would still host the Mountain West Championship because of their head-to-head record against San Diego State. Heading on to the Wyoming Cowboys here. They return quarterback Andrew Peasley, linebacker Easton Gibbs, first team all-conference, and kicker John Hoyland, also a first-teamer. I absolutely love Easton Gibbs. He is fantastic. Maybe the second coming of Logan Wilson, who is also great at Wyoming. Gibbs should be an all-conference performer as well as possibly an All-American selection this year. One key loss, wide receiver Joshua Cobbs transferred, so that's going to hurt Peasley in that offense. But he did get a running back in the transfer portal. Running back Harrison Whaley comes in from NIU, so that should help with the loss of Cobbs. I have the Cowboys going 6-6, 5-3 conference record here. They lose at home against Texas Tech. They win at home against Portland State, lose at Texas, and they lose at home against Appalachian State. They win at home against New Mexico. They win at home against Fresno State. They lose at Air Force, week 8 bye. They lose at Boise State, win at home against Colorado State on a Friday. They lose at UNLV on a Friday. They win at home against Hawaii, and they win at Nevada. So that is how you get to 6-6 for the Cowboys of Wyoming. Really need to change the color scheme. The brown and yellow is not working for me anymore. I don't know why. Just personal preference, I guess, for Wyoming. All right, Utah State is up next. The Aggies, as I mentioned, our guy Danny Potter referencing the alumnus of Jordan Love here, and he's hyped about him for Green Bay this year. We'll see him on September 28th. But Utah State just won all-conference returner safety Ike Larson, second teamer, and he was a second team all-conference as a freshman. So should have another great couple years and head to the NFL if he can make it there. Key losses, though. Utah State lost a lot. Running back Calvin Tyler Jr. to the NFL, second team. Wide receiver Brian Cobbs to the NFL, second team. Offensive lineman Alfred Edwards to the NFL, first team. Defensive lineman Daniel Gerzeziak transferred. Defensive lineman Patrick Joyner transferred. Linebacker Byron Vaughns transferred, as did linebacker AJ Vongphachanh. That is the biggest one on defense. Vongphachanh, I absolutely love that kid. He's going to be a stud. If I can recall where he went in the transfer portal. For BYU, yes, Vongphachanh not having to go too far from Utah State to BYU there, staying in state. But, yeah, he should be great for the Cougars this year in the Big 12. Couple key transfers for the Aggies. Offensive lineman Ralph Frias comes in from Arizona State. Corner Malone Matayele from Utah, and safety Logan Peely from BYU. That's the big one there on defense. I like Peely a lot, so he should be pretty solid for that back end to pair with Larson. Unfortunately, though, for Utah State, I have them going 4-8, 3-5. The losses on defense, as well as Tyler and Cobbs on offense, were just too much in my mind. And the conference, their schedule that they have is not very nice either. They lose at Iowa week 1, win at home against Idaho State. They lose at Air Force on a Friday. They lose at home against James Madison, lose at UConn. So that non-conference schedule, 1-3 there. Iowa, JMU, and UConn playing at Iowa, at UConn. Those three are just brutal games for Utah State. They do win at home against Colorado State. They win at home against Fresno State on a Friday. Lose at San Jose State. Week 9 bye. They lose at home against San Diego State. They lose at home against Nevada. They lose at home against Boise State. And they win at New Mexico on a Friday to get to 4-8. Again, I'm not sure. Maybe the Aggies could surprise. I have them finishing 9th in the conference. But, yeah, I just think that it's going to be a tough season for Utah State. Let's head on to the Rebels. UNLV Rebels here are my guy Troy Hermo's new hometown after he moved there a couple years ago. But I like the Rebels this year somewhat. Quarterback Cameron Friel, the lone key returner. No all-conference players returning for them. A lot of transfer outs. Quarterback Harrison Bailey, running back Aiden Robbins, wide receiver Kyle Williams, and offensive lineman Leif Faltanu all transferred out. Defensive lineman Adam Plant Jr. to the NFL, second team. Linebacker Austin Agiake to the NFL, first team. And kicker Daniel Gutierrez to the NFL, second teamer. They did get couple solid transfers, though. Running back Vincent Davis comes in from Pitt. Linebacker Jackson Woodard from Arkansas, and kicker Jose Pisano from Missouri State. Vincent Davis is the one I want to talk about, though. I think he's going to help Friel in that backfield a lot. Had a pretty solid career at Pitt so far, and should be the starting running back, I would have to think, with Aiden Robbins moving away from UNLV. I have the Rebels finishing 5-7, 4-4, just short of a bowl bid for UNLV. As I mentioned, the top 6 teams in the conference I have as bowl eligible, no one else. But UNLV is right there. They win at home against Bryant week 1. They lose at Michigan, lose at home against Vanderbilt. They lose at UTEP. They win at home against Hawaii, week 6 bye. They lose at Nevada. They win at home against Colorado State, lose at Fresno State. They win at New Mexico. They win at home against Wyoming on a Friday. They lose at Air Force, and they lose at home against San Jose State to end up 5-7. Now let's the one game that I think, or maybe there's two games that could push them to bowl eligibility. The Nevada and the Fresno State games, both away. Those are the two that I think they should look for to probably push them to 6-6 if they can get there. I don't think they're going to win at UTEP, as I have UTEP winning Conference USA this year. And the only other one I would say, Air Force, at Air Force. Maybe the Falcons have lost too much on that offense that they won't be able to sustain the good program. But I think they would beat UNLV, especially at Air Force. Let's go to the Rams. Colorado State is the next team up here. Key returners for the Rams: Torrey Horton, wide receiver Torrey Horton, first teamer. Defensive lineman Mohamed Kamara, second team. Defensive back Jack Howell, first teamer. Losses, though: running back David Bailey transferred. All transfers are their losses. Wide receiver Melquan Stovall, wide receiver Dante Wright, offensive lineman Owen Snively, and corner DeAndre Greeley, all transferring out. One key transfer for the Rams here: wide receiver Dylan Goffney comes in from SMU to help pair with Torrey Horton there. 3-9 here for Colorado State, 2-6 conference record. Tough schedule. They lose at home against Washington State. Week 2 bye, which is really weird. But they do not have a break elsewhere in the schedule, so week 2 bye it is. They lose at Colorado. They lose at Mid-Tennessee. That one, maybe they can get a win there. They win at home against Utah Tech, lose at Utah State, lose at home against Boise State. They lose at UNLV, lose at home against Air Force, lose at Wyoming on a Friday, lose at home against San Diego State, and they end up with 2 back-to-back wins at home against Nevada and at Hawaii to end the year 3-9 and 11th place for me for the Colorado State Rams here. You know, Rams is not a very, very popular college football mascot. I just want to say that. Heading on to the Rainbow Warriors here of Hawaii. Not a lot in terms of returning losses or transfers, but one key returner for them, quarterback Braden Shager. He comes back, probably going to be the starter after they started a couple different guys last year. Jonah Chong as well also returned, so we'll see who is the quarterback for the Rainbow Warriors here. Key losses, though: tight end Caleb Phillips to the NFL, first team. Offensive lineman Ilm Manning to the NFL, first team. And offensive lineman Micah Vanterpool to the NFL, second team all-conference. One key transfer: offensive lineman Joshua Atkins comes in from Houston, so he'll replenish that offensive line with the 2 all-conference guys that they lost. Hawaii, I have them going 3-9, just like Colorado State, 2-6 conference record, but the loss week 13 to Colorado State is why Hawaii finishes last in the conference. As always, Hawaii plays 13 games for some odd reason every year, but here we go. They lose at Vanderbilt week 0. They lose at home against Stanford on a Friday, week 1. Win at home against Albany. Lose at Oregon. Lose at home against New Mexico State. They lose at UNLV. Week 6 bye. They lose at home against San Diego State. Win at New Mexico. They lose at home against San Jose State. Win at Nevada. They lose at home against Air Force. Lose at Wyoming. And they lose at home against Colorado State to end 3-9 last in the conference. Moving to the Wolfpack, Nevada. I have them finishing 10th in the conference. Not the Nevada of yesteryear with, all the guys, Carson Strong, Cole Turner, and Romeo Dobbs and co. Too bad Danny's not watching anymore. He would appreciate the Romeo Dobbs shout out there, I bet. But returning for Nevada, quarterback Shane Illingworth and kicker Brandon Talton. Key losses for the Wolfpack: defensive lineman Dom Peterson to the CFL second team, and defensive back Bentley Sanders to the NFL first team. Key transfers, though, they got some good ones. Quarterback Brendan Lewis from Colorado, running back Sean Dollars from Oregon, and running back Ashton Hayes from Cal. Also, wide receiver John Jackson III from USC. So good offensive support from the transfer portal. Sean Dollars is the biggest one, I think, that should really help this Nevada offense. Alas, though, I have the Wolfpack going 4-8, 3-5 conference record. They lose at USC week 1, win at home against Idaho, lose at home against Kansas. They lose at Texas State. That one is suspect. We'll see how our Sun Belt goes, but not sure how Texas State is going to look. They win at Fresno State, week 6 bye, lose at home against UNLV, lose at San Diego State. They win at home against New Mexico, lose at home against Hawaii. They lose at Utah State, win at Colorado State, and they lose at home against Wyoming to end the season 4-8 for the Wolfpack. And the final team here, the New Mexico Lobos. They finished 2-10 last year, last place, but I'm super hyped about them. I think they're going to be a lot better, especially with all the transfers that they got. But returning for them, running back Christian Washington was a second-team kick returner. Punter Aaron Rodriguez was a second-teamer as well. Key losses, just 2 transfer outs. Quarterback CJ Montez transferred, and safety AJ Halsey transferred as a second-team all-conference player. But like I mentioned, they got a bunch of transfers, probably the most impactful transfer class in the conference. Quarterback Dylan Hopkins comes in from UAB. Wide receiver Caleb Medford from TCU. Wide receiver Caden Pope from Mississippi State. Defensive lineman Gabriel Lopez from Washington State. Safety Noah Pola Gates from Nebraska. Safety Diarco Perkins McAllister from TCU. And safety Bryson Washington from Oklahoma. So I think with all those additions, especially on offense and the back end on defense, I think New Mexico could contend. I have them finishing 7th in the conference, or 8th in the conference, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lobos in a bowl game this year. I know my guy, our guy John Babington will hate me for saying that with the New Mexico State rivalry, but I have them losing to the Aggies there. They lose at Texas A&M week 1. They win at home against Tennessee Tech, lose again at home against New Mexico State. They win at UMass. They lose at Wyoming, week 6 bye. They lose at home against San Jose State. They win at home against Hawaii. They win at Nevada. Win at home against UNLV. They lose at Boise State, lose at Fresno State, and lose at home against Utah State on a Friday to end 5-7 for UNM. So that is all 12 of the Mountain West Conference teams. Just to recap the conference, I have the San Jose State Spartans winning the Mountain West in 2023, 10-2, 8-0 in conference play. San Diego State Aztecs go 9-3, 7-1, losing in the conference championship game. Boise State Broncos, they go 8-4, 6-2 in conference. Third place finish for them. The Air Force Falcons finishing fourth, 7-5, 4-4 in conference. Wyoming Cowboys, they are next at 6-6, 5-3 conference record. The defending Mountain West champs Fresno State Bulldogs, 6-6, 4-4 conference play. The UNLV Rebels are finishing seventh in my book, 5-7, 4-4 conference. New Mexico Lobos, they are eighth on my book, 5-7, 3-5 conference record. The Utah State Aggies, they finished in ninth place, 4-8, 3-5 in conference. The Nevada Wolfpack, they also finished 4-8, 3-5 conference record. Colorado State Rams, they are my 11th place team, 3-9, 2-6 in conference. And the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, who I think is probably the best mascot in the FBS, 3-9, 2-6 record, finishing last place in the Mountain West this season. So that is the show for today, y'all. Thank y'all for watching. We will be back next Friday. It will be Hall of Fame week. We will have a game to recap, y'all. Super hyped about that. We'll also give you all your college football and NFL news, as well as continue our college conference series with the SEC. We're doing the Pac-12 on Tuesday. We'll get you the Southeastern Conference on Friday. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcasts on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can check us out here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and our TikTok at Football Addicts Anon. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you all back on Tuesday.